The loaves and the fishes is the only miracle reported in all four Gospels, and may have actually been larger a gathering than was reported in the Bible. The 5,000 count includes only the men. So if you throw in the women and children, you have a considerably more massive crowd. This gathering would have emptied the fishing villages in the area, Capernaum and Bethsaida. They are less than 4 miles away from each other. Christ essentially had 5 pita breads and 2 fish to feed many thousands of people. There are no restaurants. There's no Chinese takeout joints nearby. So Jesus orders his disciples to divide the massive crowd into groups of 50 to 100 people. Somehow, Jesus takes 2 fish sandwiches, 2 filet-o-fish sandwiches, and feeds everybody. He feeds them, they're full. And there are even baskets of leftovers. Christ has the power of creation, just like his Father. The loaves and the fishes are a type of Exodus deja vu. And as the miracle unfolds, the crowd sees Moses in Jesus, and they see the Exodus Israelites within themselves. A point which Mark, in his gospel, makes crystal clear. Chapter 6, verse 35. Manna, miraculously multiplied bread from heaven. Christ becomes the new Moses, leading the Jewish people back to the paradise lost. Jesus is the Messiah. That's the conclusion here. The God-sent deliverer that has come to drive out the Romans and restore the promised land to its former glory. The crowd is virtually ready to force Christ to be their king. But Jesus slips away, leaving them to digest this miracle, and the crowd is left hungry for more. Now, 5 barley loaves and 2 fish. Barley is the poor man's wheat. It's usually given to livestock and the very poor. Barley is not as tasty as wheat and is far less expensive. The crowd sits on green grass, so it's still springtime before the summer heat bakes the countryside brown. Barley is harvested in the early springtime, several months before the wheat harvest. Now, the 2 fishes were probably dried, salted, or pickled. These are, of course, common methods of food preservation for a meal on the road. The 2 fish that become many thousands of fish were most likely the local favorite, Tilapia Galilea, also known as St. Peter's fish. Jesus blesses the food first and looks up at the sky while he prays, then breaks the barley bread and tilapia fish and gives it to his disciples to distribute. Many people in the massive crowd digest this miracle and recognize right away that Christ is the Messiah, and desire to crown him the King of the Jews. They see light at the end of the long tunnel of their years of oppression and a way out of Roman rule. The crowd connects the promise of Moses in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 18, verse 15, that one day God will raise up a prophet like himself among your fellow Israelites. The people connect or link Jesus to the predictions and the promise of the coming Messiah. It is easy for the Jews at the Loaves and Fishes gathering to see parallels to the past and to Moses, and compare the miracle of Christ with similar miracles during the time of Moses. Their stomachs are now full, and the crowd expects a new utopian life now that the Messiah has arrived on earth. Christ has presented himself not only as a new Moses, but also as the Son of God who will lead his followers through the spiritual desert into the promised land of eternal life. In John chapter 6, verses 32 to 33 and 48 to 50, I am the bread and the life, the true bread from heaven, and anyone who eats the bread from heaven will never die. All right, let's move on to the Transfiguration, a miracle